My parents kicked me out on my 27th birthday. I slept in a motel. Years later, I bought a house. They walked in and said, "It's a family asset." I never thought I would be writing this post. You read these horror stories on here and think, there is no way people are actually that delusional, or there is no way a parent would do that to their own kid. You think it's fiction. I thought it was fiction, until last week when I watched my parents get handcuffed in the foyer of the house I built with my own two hands. To understand the absolute insanity of what went down, you need to understand the people who raised me. My father is the kind of man who believes the world owes him a living just for existing. He has never held a job for longer than 6 months. He's a visionary, according to him, and a lazy leech, according to anyone with a brain. My mother is her shadow. She doesn't just enable him, she rewrites reality to fit his narrative. If he gets fired, it's because the boss was threatened by his genius. If he loses money, it's because the market was rigged. I wasn't a son to them. I was a 401k with legs. Everything came to a head on my 27th birthday. At the time, I was working as an apprentice carpenter. I was pulling 12-hour shifts, coming home covered in sawdust and drywall dust, barely able to keep my eyes open. I was living in their rental house. They like to tell people I lived there rent-free, but that was a lie. I paid the electric, the water, the internet, and I bought all the groceries. I also did all the maintenance on the house because the landlord was a slumlord and my dad couldn't be bothered to fix a leaky pipe. On my birthday, I walked into the kitchen expecting maybe a pizza or a card. Instead, I walked into an intervention. My father was sitting at the head of the table with his arms crossed, looking like a mob boss from a discount movie. My mother was staring at the tablecloth. There was a store-bought cake sitting unopened in the box. Father didn't say happy birthday. He just pointed at the chair opposite him and said, "Sit." I sat. The air in the room was so thick you could choke on it. "What's going on?" I asked. "We have an opportunity," Father said. He slid a brochure across the table. It was for a trucking logistics route. I glanced at it. Even with my tired eyes, I could spot 5 red flags in the first paragraph. It was a classic multi-level marketing scam wrapped in industrial buzzwords. "We need $40,000 to buy in. The return on investment is guaranteed to be triple that in 6 months." I stared at him. "Okay, so go to the bank." "We can't go to the bank," Mother whispered, finally looking up. Her eyes were rimmed red. "Our credit is compromised." "We need your savings," Father said. He didn't ask, he stated it. My stomach dropped. I had $42,000 in my savings account. That money was my life. I had been saving since I was 16, working summer jobs, mowing lawns, and then breaking my back in construction. That money was for my general contractor's license bond, a work truck, and a down payment on a fixer-upper. It was my ticket out of their misery. "No," I said. Father blinked like he hadn't considered that a possibility. "Excuse me?" "No, that's my money. I'm saving for a house. I'm saving to start my business." "Your business?" Father laughed. It was a cold, ugly sound. "You play with wood. You're a laborer. This is a business. This is a legacy. And we are a family. In this family, assets are shared." "My bank account is not a family asset," I said, my voice shaking. "It's mine. I earned it." Father stood up. He's a big guy, broad-shouldered, and he knows how to use his size to intimidate. "We fed you. We clothed you. We put a roof over your head. You owe us. If you think you can just hoard money while your family struggles, you're mistaken." "I pay all the bills here," I shouted, standing up too. "You pay rent," he roared, "and now the rent is due, $40,000. "I'm not giving it to you." He looked at me with pure disgust. "Then get out." "What?" "If you're not part of this family's future, you don't get to live in this family's present. Get out tonight." I looked at my mom. I waited for her to step in, to be the mother she was supposed to be. She just wiped her eyes and said, "You're breaking his heart, son. Just give him the money." That was the moment the cord snapped. I went to my room. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I packed 2 duffel bags with my clothes and my essential tools. When I walked back out, they were still at the kitchen table, probably expecting me to cave. I walked right past them and out the front door. I slept in a Motel 6 off the interstate that night. It was my 27th birthday. I ate a vending machine sandwich for dinner. The room smelled like stale cigarettes and despair. I sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the semis roar past on the highway, and I felt completely hollow. But underneath the hollow feeling, there was something else. Relief. I blocked their numbers the next morning. The next 4 years were a grind that I wouldn't wish on anyone. I lived in that motel for 2 months because no apartment complex would take me without a cosigner or better rental history. I eventually found a studio apartment the size of a shoebox. I worked 7 days a week. I took every overtime shift available. I ate rice and beans. I didn't date. I didn't go out. I just worked. I got my contractor's license. I started taking on side jobs, then bigger jobs, and finally the housing market crashed just enough in my area for me to make a move. Being a contractor gives you an edge. I found a foreclosure that was terrifying to normal people. It had fire damage in the kitchen, a hole in the roof, and the basement was a mold hazard. The bank practically gave it away. I bought it with cash and a hard money loan. For the last year, this house has been my entire life. I gutted it down to the studs. I did everything myself. I installed hand-scraped white oak floors. I built custom black walnut cabinetry for the kitchen. I vaulted the ceilings in the living room. I rewired the entire electrical system, replumbed the bathrooms, and landscaped the backyard into a private oasis. It wasn't just a house. It was proof that I was something. It was my sanctuary. It is currently valued at triple what I paid for it. I broke my no-contact rule 2 weeks ago, and I am still kicking myself. My cousin, let's call him Dan, reached out. Dan was a good guy, one of the normal ones in our gene pool. He was getting married and begged me to come. He swore my parents wouldn't be there because they couldn't afford the travel costs to the venue, which was 2 states away. I went. It was great to see Dan. But at the reception, after a few whiskeys, Dan asked me where I was living now. I pulled out my phone and showed him one picture, just one, of the kitchen renovation I was really proud of. "Dude, you built that?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, beaming. "Bought a foreclosure, fixed it up." "That's incredible," he said. I didn't think anything of it, but families talk, and secrets in my family leak like a sieve. 3 days ago, I was in my driveway washing my truck. It was a beautiful Saturday morning. I was listening to a podcast, zoning out. I saw a rusted-out sedan turn onto my street. I didn't pay it any attention until it slowed down and pulled up to my curb. My stomach turned into a block of ice. I knew that car. My father got out. He looked old.
Older, rougher around the edges. His hair was thinning, and he had that desperate look in his eyes that I remembered from my childhood. My mother followed him out. She looked tired. "Well," Father said, looking up at the house. He didn't look at me. He was appraising the property like a wolf looking at a sheep. "You've been busy." I gripped the sponge so hard water dripped down my knuckles. "What do you want?" "Is that how you greet your parents?" Mother said, walking up the driveway. She bypassed me completely and started walking toward the front door. "It's beautiful, much better than that dump we're in." I stepped in front of her path. "You're not coming in." "Nonsense," Father said, joining us. "We're here to make amends. Dan told us you were doing well. We're proud of you, son." "You kicked me out on my birthday," I said. "You haven't spoken to me in 4 years. You aren't proud. You want something." "We don't want anything," Father lied smoothly. "We just want to see where our son lives. Maybe a cup of coffee? Then we'll hit the road." I hesitated. This is where I messed up. Despite everything, there is that stupid biological programming that makes you want to please your parents. I thought, okay, one coffee. Let them see I succeeded without them, then they leave. One coffee, I said, then you leave. I let them in. They didn't just look, they inspected. Father tapped the walls to check for studs. Mother ran her hands over the quartz countertops like she was checking for dust. They whispered to each other in the hallway. We sat in the living room. I didn't offer them coffee, I just wanted them gone. "We're in a bit of a bind," Father said, leaning back on my leather sofa. He looked too comfortable. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, my voice dead flat. "Our landlord is selling the place. We're being evicted. We need a place to crash, just for a few weeks, until we get our feet under us." "No," I said immediately. Father's eyes narrowed. The proud dad mask slipped. "You have 3 empty bedrooms. I checked the layout online. This is my house. You are not staying here." "We're family," Mother wailed. "How can you be so cruel?" I reminded them, "You kicked me out because I wouldn't fund you scam." Father stood up. He walked to the center of the room and spread his arms wide. "You built this with the skills I paid for. You built this on the foundation we gave you. Technically, this is a family asset." There it was, the entitlement, the delusion. "Get out," I said. I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police." Father sat back down and crossed his legs. "We're not going anywhere. In fact, I think we'll take the master suite. You can take one of the guest rooms." "I'm dialing," I said. "Go ahead," Father smirked. "Tell them your elderly parents came for a visit and you're throwing them on the street. See how that plays out." I called 911. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from rage. The police arrived about 20 minutes later. 2 officers. They seemed annoyed to be there. I met them at the door and explained the situation. "These people are trespassing. I want them removed." The officers walked into the living room. My parents transformed instantly. Father looked frail and confused. Mother was crying softly. "Officers," Father said, his voice trembling, "thank God you're here. Our son invited us to live here. We're old. We need help. We gave him the money for the down payment years ago. Now he's having an episode and trying to throw us out." "That's a lie," I yelled. "I bought this house myself." "Sir, calm down," the officer said to me. He turned to my dad. "Do you live here?" "We moved in a week ago," Father lied. "We have a verbal agreement." "That's insane. They got here an hour ago." "Officer," Mother said, reaching into her oversized purse, "I have my bank statement here. It came in the mail yesterday." She handed the officer an envelope. It was a bank statement, addressed to her at my address. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. They must have changed their address online the second Dan told them where I lived. "Sir," the officer said, looking at me with exhausted eyes, "if they have mail here and claim tenancy, we can't physically remove them. We aren't judges. We can't determine who is telling the truth right now. It's a civil matter. You have to evict them." "They're trespassing," I screamed. "You can't just let them stay." "They say they've been here a week. You say an hour. They have mail. It's a he said, she said situation. You need a court order. If we remove them and they're legal tenants, the city gets sued." The police left. As the cruiser pulled away, my father turned to me and smiled. It was the ugliest smile I've ever seen. "I'm going to go make a sandwich," he said. For the next 48 hours, I lived in a nightmare. I locked myself in my bedroom, but they took over the rest of the house. I could hear them downstairs. They cooked in my kitchen, leaving grease everywhere. They watched my TV at full volume. They went through my drawers. I called a lawyer, but it was the weekend. I was trapped. But they got greedy. They always get greedy. I came home from work on Monday. I had to go to a job site to maintain my sanity, to find a locksmith drilling my front door. "Hey!" I yelled, running up the walk. "What the hell are you doing?" "Homeowner lost his keys," the locksmith said, pointing to my father standing in the doorway. "I'm the homeowner." I shoved my phone in the locksmith's face, showing him the deed and my ID. "That man is a squatter." The locksmith looked at me, then at my dad, then packed his drill. "I'm not getting in the middle of this," and drove off. Father just shrugged. "I needed a copy. You locked us out." That night, the war began. I confronted them in the kitchen. They were eating steaks, my steaks, from my freezer. "You are leaving," I said, my voice shaking with controlled fury. "I spoke to a lawyer today. I'm serving you with an immediate notice to quit for trespassing and fraud." Father laughed. He was drinking my expensive scotch out of a coffee mug. "You can't prove fraud, and eviction takes months in this state, maybe a year if we drag it out. We know the system, boy. We've been evicted more times you've had hot dinners." "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "I'm your son." "And you have plenty," Mother said, chewing loudly. "You have this big house. You have money. We have nothing. It's not fair. We want half the equity." I stared at her. "You want what?" "Half the equity," Father said. "The house is worth what, 600 grand? You give us 300, we walk away. Call it a return on investment for raising you. Call it a consulting fee." "You're insane." "No," he said, standing up and stepping into my personal space. He poked me hard in the chest. "You owe us. You are nothing without us." I swatted his hand away. "Don't touch me." He threw himself backward. It was like watching a bad soccer flop. He crashed into the kitchen island, knocking a glass vase onto the floor. It shattered. "Help!" he screamed at the top of his lungs. "He's attacking me! He's killing me! Call 911!" Mother whipped out her phone instantly, dialing. She started screaming into the receiver. "My son is beating my husband. There's blood everywhere. Send help." I stood there, frozen. The level of malice was something I couldn't comprehend. They had rehearsed this. When the police came this time, it was different. Father had a small bruise on his back from where he hit the counter. He claimed I shoved him with both hands. Mother was sobbing, giving an Oscar-worthy performance about how I had a temper and had been threatening them all week. In my state, domestic violence accusations are taken very seriously. There is a mandatory separation policy. Because it was my word against theirs, and they were elderly, they are in their late 50s, but they played the frailty card hard. The police told me to leave. "You can't be serious," I told the sergeant. "This is my house. They are grifters. They staged this." "Sir, you need to leave for the cooling-off period. If you stay, I have to arrest you for assault based on their statements. Go stay with a friend. Sort it out in the morning with a judge." I grabbed my bag and left. I slept in my truck down the street, watching my own house. I saw the lights go off. I saw them living in the home I built with my blood and sweat. I imagined them laughing. I didn't sleep. I plotted. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I went to the best real estate attorney in the city. I also hired a private investigator. I told them everything. The lawyer, Sarah, listened to the whole story, her jaw tightening. The PI, Mike, started digging immediately. 2 hours later, Mike called me. "Buddy," Mike said, "you're not going to believe this. Your parents aren't just broke, they're active criminals." He sent me a file. First, identity theft. Remember that credit check they ran on me when I was 18 to teach me about finance? They never stopped using my info. There were 3 credit cards opened in my name 6 months ago. They were maxed out. $15,000 in debt. They used a P.O. box, so I never saw the bills. Second, welfare fraud. They were collecting disability benefits for a back injury my father faked 2 years ago, while simultaneously working under the table for a moving company. Third, and this was the smoking gun, forgery. Mike found a lease agreement filed in the county public records online portal. They had tried to switch the utilities to their name using a lease. It had my signature on it, a signature that was clearly a bad photocopy of an old birthday card or something. But the real kicker, the thing that was going to bury them, was the house itself. When I renovated the house, I was obsessed with tech. I installed a high-end, hardwired smart home system. There are 4K cameras in the living room, the kitchen, and covering every inch of the exterior. The system doesn't record to a hard drive in the house. It uploads directly to a secure cloud server. It has a cellular backup in case the Wi-Fi is cut. They thought simply unplugging the Alexa on the counter would stop Big Brother. They were wrong. I pulled up the footage from the assault. The video was crystal clear. It showed me standing still, hands at my sides. It showed my father poking me aggressively. It showed me swatting his hand, a defensive, minimal motion. It showed him pausing, looking at the counter, and then deliberately throwing himself backward into it. It also recorded the audio perfectly. After the police kicked me out, the camera kept rolling. Father, that went perfectly. We'll get the restraining order tomorrow. He'll have to settle to get back in. Mother, what if he checks the credit cards? He won't. He's too busy playing carpenter. We'll force him to sell the house to pay us off. Then we disappear before the debt hits. We deserve this money. I forwarded the video to Sarah. She called me back 5 minutes later. This isn't an eviction anymore, she said, and I could hear the excitement in her voice. This is a felony takedown. We didn't go to civil court. We went to the district attorney's office. Sarah used to work there. She pulled some strings to get us a meeting. We showed the DA the video of the staged assault, filing a false report, the forged lease, forgery, and the evidence of the credit cards, identity theft, and wire fraud. The DA was not amused. He especially didn't like that they used the police department as a weapon to facilitate a home invasion. Yesterday morning, I went back to my house. I didn't go alone. I had a police escort, but not the patrol officers from before. These were detectives. I unlocked the front door. The chain was on. I kicked the door hard. The wood splintered. I'll have to fix that later, but it felt good. "Get away," Father yelled from the living room. "We have a restraining order. I'm calling the cops." "They're already here, Dad," I yelled back. The detectives swarmed in. Mother was in the hallway holding the temporary protective order paperwork like a shield. She looked smug for exactly 2 seconds. "He can't be here," she said. The lead detective snatched the paper from her hand. "Mrs. Last Name?" the detective said. "Yes, you're arrested." Her face went pale. "What? Why?" "Conspiracy, filing a false police report, and identity theft." They cuffed her right there in the foyer. She started screaming, "My back! You're hurting my back!" Father came running down the hall in his robe coat. "What is the meaning of this? This is harassment. This is a civil matter." "Mr. Last Name," the detective cut him off, "turn around and place your hands behind your back. You can't do this. I live here. I have rights." "Forgery and identity theft are criminal matters, sir, and we have the video of you faking your fall. The DA sends his regards." The color drained from his face. He looked like a deflated balloon. He looked at me, standing behind the wall of blue uniforms. "Son," he stammered, "son, tell them. We were just trying to teach you a lesson about family, about sharing assets." I stepped forward. The house smelled like stale beer. There were takeout boxes everywhere. They had dragged muddy shoes across my pristine oak floors. "You taught me a great lesson," I said. "You taught me that family is who you choose, and I don't choose you." "I'm your father," he roared as they dragged him out the door. "I own you. Everything you have is mine." "You own nothing, not even the shirt on your back, judging by the credit card debt you racked up in my name." I watched them get shoved into the back of separate squad cars. The neighbors were all out on their lawns watching. It was humiliating, sure, but mostly it was cleansing, like lancing a boil. They are currently being held without bail. The DA argued they are flight risks because they have no fixed address and a history of fraud. The judge agreed. The family asset defense didn't hold up well when the judge saw the forged lease with the bad photocopy signature. I'm pressing charges on everything. The credit cards, the false report, the forgery, the damages to the house. I'm not dropping a single thing. My lawyer says they are looking at 5 to 10 years minimum, especially since the identity theft was against a family member and involved a significant amount of money. I spent all yesterday cleaning the house. I scrubbed every surface they touched with bleach. I threw out the mattress they slept on. I hired a priest to bless the place, and I'm not even religious. I just needed the bad energy gone. I sat on my back porch last night, drinking a beer, looking at the garden I built. It was quiet. Truly quiet. They tried to steal the one thing I built for myself because they felt entitled to my labor. They thought because they gave me life, they were entitled to consume it. But a house isn't a home just because you're related to the people inside. A home
where you are safe. And for the first time in my life, I am safe. The only family asset I have now is my freedom, and that is not for sale. If you enjoyed this story of a craftsman dismantling a toxic foundation, hit subscribe for more updates on the renovation, but hopefully no more updates on the inmates.